For the referees, the players are looking for the transition. I think that's a very good part being involved. You're still involved in a very close way with the game. You'll still be able to train. You'll still be able to go to the locker room. So the things like very close to being a player, you still get that on a referee. So uh, it's a high demand job, but it's a very rewarding because you're still involved in a very close way on the game.
Welcome to another episode of RugbyMed, the science of the game. We have a very special guest, João Costa, a physiotherapist, a rugby referee, and a former player. João has a unique perspective on the game, having experienced it from multiple angles as a player, a healthcare professional, and now as a referee. João, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Carlos and António. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here and give you an insight from being a former player, a former rugby referee, and now as a physio. And being very welcome to give you the insight of that perspective.
João, your story is fascinating because you have been involved in rugby in so many different ways. Let's start with the transition from player to referee. How did that happen?
So in 2013, I had an injury that I had to stop for a very long time. And in between the surgery and the stage one of the injury and the surgery, I was still involved with the team. I was trying to get fit to get the prehab for the surgery, and one day in the training session, in the seventh training session, I was running around the field doing some laps, and the coach of the time in Academica sent me to give to referee the game in the training. And they give me a whistle, and I was put in the middle of the field, and then looks like the things start to go very naturally, and at the end of the session, it was like, yeah, you got something on that. So he give me. He was also involved with the union on the age grades. I think was. Under 18s, and it wasn't the development of the union, and they gave me a whistle, a t-shirt, and you invite me to go on the next weekend.
And the rest is history, right? That's very interesting. So, and do you think that your background as a physio and as also a player influenced your approach as a referee, or do you think that there's no relevance on your background with regard to refereeing?
Absolutely, especially being a former player, you there are some parts of the refereeing that you are more in touch with the game. I think it's a little bit of game sense. And you have a little different perspective of what the players are trying to do, and what's really have a really impact and influence on the game. And you, as a referee, you try to be not a policeman, but you are trying to to facilitate the game and let the game flow. And I think being a former player, you have a perspective of what's the game, and sometimes it helps you as a referee. being a physio, um, on the new laws and what's the impact of the tackles around the neck and head area, and the the breakdown, the croc rolls. uh, you have a different perspective. What's the impact that that kind of injuries
Yeah,
have
of
on the
course.
player? And there's no doubt, being a referee, that even so that I'm a former player as well, and on my time that was normal. But being a physio as well, you know that you need to get that step forward on the laws to 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 ensure the player welfare.
Yeah. And this is very important, the physio perspective in your job. And picking up that line, how does your medical knowledge change the way at in-game situations, especially, for example, when a player take a big hit, or you probably have concussion suspicion, or you have a big injury in the field. What is your thoughts on that?
So when sometimes you got the triggers, and when you are a referee, when you see something that could be dangerous for the player, not only from player welfare, but when you got a big tackle or a big counter ruck, and you know that that's some situations, or a scrum that goes over the other pack. There are some triggers that you are more aware that can occur something on the player. If you got an upright tackle, or if you see like a big head movement, big hit, and the head goes a little bit backwards, um, you probably, if the game flows, it's not flow play, but the game flows, I would probably add a high on that player to see if there is any sign of concussion, and be more aware on the situation.
So João, were there any moments where you already had to make some tough calls as a referee because you were concerned of an injury on during a game? Was that something that you have already experienced?
Yeah, once, only once. But there are some situations, and when it's not concussion, but other major injuries. Um, when it's especially when there are situations that probably try will be scored, and it's if it's not simultaneously, and you got to you order try and you go afterwards to the player. But when you have to make a call, you stop the game, even so that the other team would be an advantage, and probably score a try, or you go to the player that you need to be assist. And I got once, and I stopped the game. So, but uh, you could be questioned about that. But for me, and I think that's the perspective of being a physio as well. Uh, I'm I'm more aware of the impact that could be on the game if you don't have assistance right away on certain moments, or if you don't stop the game, it could be very, very bad for the players.
Yeah. And picking up that line, as a referee, what are some of the most common injury risks you see in the game nowadays?
I think especially on the areas of the game that occur more frequently, the tackle and the ruck. Um, I think that the croc roll, it was so bad for the players that were trying to jackal the ball, and I'm very happy that that law uh, had come through. But I uh, I have another vision that's about the scrums. I think that's the really part of the game that it could be a very, very catastrophic injury. and especially on age grade. When I said that because when you are in the senior level, in our we are talking about amateur rugby, but at senior level, the players are more experienced and more training on the scrums. But when you are on an age grade, you could have a player that the first training was on a Monday, and he can play the first game on Saturday.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the training, and he doesn't have the enough experience to go to a scrum, and that happens.
Yeah, it
Even
is true.
so that the scrums on the age grade are just a mere and a half shove or a push or a step push, but even so, there are some. It's a moment that can be very bad for the players. So for me as a referee, um, I'm much more aware on the scrum, and I think that it's a key area for the player welfare, especially on the tight five. And one thing it's I prefer, and I think it's like the being a former player, the former the physio, and the former referee. Picking on that, I prefer to don't reset the scrum. I think I prefer a preset, so take more time to get the players to be in position and get that time and adapt to the call to prevent a possible collapse.
Fair enough. João, you're talking about players being ready to play and fit to play. You're talking about training, education, player welfare. Do you think that referees receive enough training in player welfare, and do they recognize injuries and risk for players as a group? Not you specifically because you have a medical background, but as a concept, the preparation, the training of referees, does it include a lot of matters in terms of player welfare?
I think the group is more aware what's the signs and symptoms of a concussion. I think it can get better, of course, especially on the getting more through the season, more involved with that. But I think that the training it's becoming better. I think so that one perspective it's when we are training for preparing a match as a referee, we also need to prepare for that kind of situations, and sometimes that's nothing. That's a situation that we are not prepared. On the mental training or mental preparation, how do go on the situation like that? If I check someone that's not that has a sign of concussion, how am I going to be able to respond on that? Do I stop the game? Do I let the game flow and pray for the physio or the medical to come over and give the call? Do I have the call? So something that I think that's on a personal view of as a referee. I think that's something that sometimes we need to get on the preparation for a match.
Okay. So let's move to the recent trial laws. The game has been evolving to increase player safety, it is known. But what do you think about these new changes?
I think that it's very good for the players, especially we were seeing the game is going so fast, so with such an impact. It changed so much in a few years that hair knock on these days with some kind of players are going so fast and so big that could be very dangerous. And the upright tackle that we were seeing on the last years uh, was getting such a high degree of danger on the head impact. So I think that getting the tackle height low, it's very important for the player safety, especially for the ball carrier, but also for the tackler.
But João, we have witnessed some criticism from players and coaches saying that these new laws are changing the shape of the game and the way the game used to look. Do you think that the effectiveness, or at least the expectation that it will decrease the risk of injury, justifies the change in the shape of the game as some may consider?
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to look to the game as is it presented today, and it's not the same as 10 years ago or 20 years ago. We do know that 20 years ago, for the last 20 years, that the players become so fast and so big that we cannot close our eyes on that. So we need to adapt um, to our game to become safety for everyone involved. Because the risk of we getting lacking numbers of new rugby players, and we saw that on in Europe, that the numbers of new players was the same. So male players were decreasing. We are getting more female players, and we need to get to the persons, especially to the public, but also to especially to the players, but also to the public, that it's safety to play rugby, and we adapt to the new environment, to the new players, and the game has changed. That's so much fast, so much impact on the game today. So I think it's natural to get the laws that and the concern on the safety around the new laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And let's move to your own playing career, your own experience as a player. You suffered a serious spinal injury. Can you tell us about what happened and how it have affected you physically and mentally afterwards?
I have a spinal surgery in 2013. I had a major blow on my spine in 2010. So since then, on that day, I spent 3 days on hospital. Could move barely move my legs, but I was able to play again until I got worse on my spine, and then had to make a surgery. That affected me, especially because I played hooker. So I was lacking on some confidence around the scrum and the impacts. And it got to a moment that the days after a game, I was very, very sore. So mentally, I was getting doubt about if it's should I continue playing, if even if I loved so much the game. But so mentally, even on playing, uh, especially playing on the front row,
Yeah.
was a little bit tough.
João, we both know because we both were in the same team when on your last days of playing, and we discussed a lot of times some of these um, aspects of the recovery and the process of playing back after a major surgery. Tell me, what was the hardest part of your recovery? And very briefly, what would you say to any player that would be facing a situation like yours now that you are 10 years from that moment?
Uh, I'll start with your last question. My word to the players that are facing a big injury is take your time. Don't rush things up. That's the thing. And be patient. Take your time. Don't rush things up. I think for myself, the hardest part was probably prior to the surgery, because I had a 3-4 month period to the surgery. I was battling with really back pain and sharp pain on my leg. And I think that was the hardest part, waiting for the surgery. And also trying to get fit, as much fit as I could to the surgery. But I think that was the hardest part, because I was not very able to move around, but also trying to get fit. So it was a little bit difficult. After surgery, I relieved the symptoms very very good, but and that I tried to rush things up, and you and the coach at the time was like, take your time, be patient,
It's
don't
true.
rush
It's
things
true.
up. So after surgery, it was like a relief. I think the problem was prior to the surgery, because I was really
Yeah.
battling with pain.
Yeah, and playing after an injury like that takes courage. Did you approach the game differently after your recovery?
Yeah, especially on the days after the game, and the week in between games. How do I prepare myself? Uh, and first, I need to uh, visualize what was my areas of the body that need to more work at, on gym, or mobility, or getting more fit around running, um, and then work on that, and especially the recovery after game. Um, the sleep is major, and the drinking. We do know that amateur rugby has at the time had a big drinking culture,
I don't know.
and
Was it just at the time? Do you think it was?
I don't know today. I don't know today, but at the time it was a big drinking culture, and
Yeah.
the impact that the drinking every Saturday after match has on the recovery. It's especially on the player that has a historic of surgery, or need to more rest at the other players. That's something that you need to take a look.
Yeah, and 100%. I would say that honestly, the commitment to recovery and the way that amateur players behave themselves professionally in recovery from injury, speaking, is the key for being able to keep a long career. And when players at the amateur level are not committed enough to their recovery, it will shorten their career. And clearly, you have been one of those players that has shown a lot of resilience and a huge commitment to recovery. And that's why you were able, after such a major injury, to continue play at a very high level, which was the top division of Portugal senior club. João, before we wrap up, what message would you like to give to players who might be considering a transition to refereeing or to sports medicine, physiotherapy in rugby medicine?
For the referees, well, the players are looking for the transition. I think that's a very good part being involved. You're still involved in a very close way with the game. You'll still be able to train. You'll still be able to go to the locker room. So the things like very very close to being a player, you still get that on a referee. So it's a high demand job, but it's a very 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 rewarding because you're still involved in a very close way on the game. So if you're in doubt, have a try and have a go, and you will be very very happy to go on the field and be part of the game. As a physio, the physio and sports are just a very close relationship, not only on rugby but the other sports. I had colleagues of mine, but that had to go to physio because they were in other sports. So our class was very sports persons on different sports, but it give you sometimes an advantage on your if you have a good if you are more aware of the details, it could give you an advantage on especially on recovery, on the approach to the game. So little things that could be very good to you as a player.
Yeah, you mentioned the transition between a player to referee, and for young referees who are just about to starting or about to change in their careers, what advice do you have to them? What big lessons that you have been learning from your career?
For the young referees.
Yeah, that are in transition from players to referee career.
I think the main thing is like go to the field and have fun. You need to have fun. If you don't have fun, like being a referee, so it's probably it's not to you. But if you go to the field, if it doesn't matter if it's under 14 or it's a senior level or it doesn't matter. If you go to the field and if you enjoy, pick up a whistle and being on the middle of the field, if you have fun, that's good for you. I think that's the biggest message. It's to have fun. Have fun at the beginning, and every the other steps on the pathway of the development of a referee will come over. But the first thing is to have fun.
Wise words, João, wise words. Thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your journey.
Yeah, thank you, João. It was great having you here. We hope to see you on the field soon, whether as a referee or in another capacity. Thank you again for being with us here in our podcast.
Thank you, guys. Have fun.
And that's a wrap for this episode of RugbyMed, the science of the game. Stay tuned for more insights into rugby health, fitness, and innovations. See you next time, and please don't forget to subscribe. Guys, bye. Thank you.